The New Deal, its implications on constitutionally protected natural and common law rights. Did the people accept the New Deal on their rights? The New Deal, introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in the 1930s, fundamentally transformed the United States' economic, social, and legal landscape. While celebrated for its role in addressing the Great Depression through sweeping reforms and public works projects, the New Deal also raised profound questions about the nature of constitutionally protected rights under natural and common law. This article examines whether the New Deal constituted a new deal on the people's rights and explores its implications for the delicate balance between government authority and individual freedoms. Natural and common law foundations of rights. Before diving into the impact of the New Deal, it is essential to understand the bedrock of natural and common law. Natural law holds that certain rights are inherent, universal, and derived from divine or moral principles, such as life, liberty, and property. These rights are considered unalienable and not subject to government interference. Common law, developed over centuries in England and later the United States, built on precedents that upheld individual freedoms and property rights. It served as a practical system for adjudicating disputes and protecting the rights of individuals against arbitrary government action. The U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights drew heavily on these principles, explicitly restricting federal authority to safeguard the sovereignty of the individual and the states. The New Deal, a shift in power dynamics. The New Deal marked a significant departure from the laissez-faire policies that had previously defined the American economy. It introduced expansive federal programs such as Social Security, the National Recovery Administration, NRA, and public works initiatives. While aimed at economic recovery, these measures involved substantial federal intervention in areas traditionally left to states and private individuals. Key legal and constitutional implications included expansion of the Commerce Clause. The New Deal justified many of its programs under the Interstate Commerce Clause, significantly broadening the federal government's regulatory power. This interpretation diminished state sovereignty and individual autonomy in economic matters. Shift from natural rights to statutory benefits. Programs like Social Security reframed individuals' reliance on natural rights, e.g., the right to labor and the fruits of one's labor, to dependency on government-administered benefits. Erosion of common law principles. By imposing regulatory frameworks and administrative oversight, the New Deal supplanted many traditional common law protections. For instance, labor relations and property disputes were increasingly subject to statutory schemes rather than judicially developed principles. Did the people consent? The critical question is whether the American people knowingly and voluntarily accepted this New Deal on their rights. Economic desperation. During the Great Depression, many Americans welcomed the New Deal as a necessary remedy for widespread unemployment and poverty. However, economic distress may have clouded public awareness of the long-term trade-offs in personal freedoms and state sovereignty. Lack of full disclosure. The New Deal's emphasis was on economic relief rather than an explicit renegotiation of constitutional rights. Few citizens realized that accepting benefits tied to federal programs could implicitly waive certain natural and common law protections. Judicial oversight. The Supreme Court initially resisted aspects of the New Deal, striking down several programs as unconstitutional. However, the court eventually acquiesced after Roosevelt's infamous court-packing plan and the switch in time that saved 9, signaling a shift in the judicial approach to federal authority. The consequences. A new social contract. The New Deal effectively created a new social contract, redefining the relationship between citizens and their government. Critics argue that this contract came at the cost of diminished property rights. Programs like the Agricultural Adjustment Act, Cole AAA, and National Industrial Recovery Act curtailed individual property rights through price controls and production quotas. Increased dependence on the state. Social programs created a population more reliant on federal aid, shifting the balance of power away from individuals and local communities. Loss of autonomy. The rise of federal agencies and administrative law blurred the lines between legislative, executive, and judicial functions, undermining traditional checks and balances. Lessons for today. The New Deal's legacy continues to influence contemporary debates over the role of government. Modern policymakers often invoke New Deal principles to justify expanding federal programs and regulations, raising similar concerns about individual rights and state sovereignty. As citizens, we must ask, are we fully aware of the trade-offs between government assistance and personal liberty? Do we have a clear understanding of the legal implications of accepting statutory benefits? Can we reassert the primacy of natural and common law principles in a system increasingly governed by administrative rules? Conclusion. The New Deal undoubtedly addressed the economic crises of its time, but its implications for constitutionally protected natural and common law rights are profound and lasting. While some view it as a necessary evolution of the social contract, others see it as a silent encroachment on freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution and rooted in natural law. Did the people knowingly accept a New Deal on their rights, or were they unknowingly ushered into a system that subordinated those rights to the demands of federal governance? As we continue to navigate the complex relationship between government authority and individual liberty, these questions remain as relevant as ever.